Hello Retro Gamers, I'm Brendan from Retro Game On and welcome to another episode of Retro News Fortnightly! Yeah, it's a somewhat discontinued news show where I'm supposed to give you the retro gaming news every 14 days. Unfortunately, I haven't released an episode since November 2015 for whatever reason. Well, the reason being that I haven't really been able to find the time, but I'm hoping to bring this show back because I think it is a good concept and I want it to be a core part of Retro Game On as you know it. So anyway, let's not dwell on the past too long and hope for the best that it continues going like how I want it to. On to the news. So I won't lie, I was getting pretty nostalgic about Retro News Fortnightly, even though I only ever released 3 episodes. I was watching them the other night, and there's frankly big news that came through today which basically spurred me to continue making the series. And that's the fact that Nintendo are releasing a new console! Whoa, what? But no, it's not the NX or the Nintendo Wii U or whatever the hell they're gonna call it. It's actually called the Nintendo Classic Mini. Let me just check I got that right. Yes, I did. I seem to have the short-term memory of a goldfish. But basically, it's a new plug-and-play console by Nintendo that actually has quite a bit of promise, believe it or not. It's going to have 30 inbuilt games and HDMI input so you can play it on your brand new TV without there being any sort of compatibility issues or stretching or anything like that. Why I think this is promising is that the games included are actually really good. I mean, Nintendo do have very stringent licensing rules for their games, which is probably why some other plug-and-play consoles by, say, Sega for instance, may be a bit short-handed because there's just licensing issues, and licensing makes the retro gaming world go round and round apparently. But they have all the Nintendo classics you would expect, like Castlevania 1 and 2, a lot of Mario games, obviously, Zelda games, there's Metroid, Ghost and Goblins, there's heaps of good stuff. So hopefully this will be quite a good console and I am actually looking quite forward to it. Understandably, this has been quite big news. A lot of the mainstream press are actually reporting on it. It's even Facebook trending at the moment, and I mean, I don't know how much merit Facebook trending actually has. Anyway, getting off topic, there's a few things mentioned in the mainstream press which aren't really talked about that probably a lot of retro gamers are wondering about, which I was too before I started researching this story. The first being that it will not play original NES cartridges, which is a bit of a shame, but the console itself is quite small, so there's probably nowhere to fit them, considering how small they wanted the console to be. Second off, it will not accept original NES already said cartridges. It will not accept original NES game controllers, which I actually was very disappointed about because I was sure that's something they could have easily implemented. It will come with a knockoff controller, which looks like the original NES controller, although it's not really a knockoff controller since Nintendo are manufacturing it. Anyway, this does have the same controller port which the Nintendo Wii uses and supports controllers such as these, which are called, I've already forgotten this as well because of my goldfish memory, the Wii Classic Controller. That shouldn't have taken me so long to look up, but whatever. Another cool thing though is that the NES controller that comes with this can actually be used on the Wii as well to play Nintendo's virtual console games that support the NES. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature. Even if you can't use the original controllers, maybe they'll release an adapter that will support it, but probably not. Don't hold your breath. There are 2 controller ports though, so you can use an additional one of those Nintendo controllers which I just shown, or you can buy another NES knockoff controller for all the multiplayer funness that you probably want. Another cool feature that Nintendo are including with all the games is the fact that you can actually save your progress. I don't think you can save wherever you want. The information available is a bit here and there about that, but I think at the very least they will include save points. So, you know, a lot of NES games can obviously be quite brutal, so this will be good for the modern gamer who are used to having everything laid out to them on a nice plate. Another odd thing about it though is that it's powered by USB, which is cool, but they will not be including the power adapter for it. They will be including a USB cable, but not the power adapter. So presumably this will probably only take, you know, probably 2.1 amps. So any modern phone charger or tablet charger for bigger phones and just normal sized tablets will probably power it. But it's a very odd decision on Nintendo's part, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, you can get them anywhere, but I'm just wondering if they're going to try to release an official Nintendo USB power adapter for like $30 or whatever. So I guess we'll keep an eye on that story. But just be warned, when you buy it, it will not come with a power adapter, but you can probably use one. There's probably already have several in your cupboard. So the Nintendo Classic Mini, as it will be called, didn't have to check the name that time, will cost $60 in North America and $100 in Australia, because us Australians are used to being ripped off like that, I guess, sadly. I mean, I know the Australian dollar isn't that good right now, but come on, an extra 40 bucks, whatever. Strangely enough, there is no price announced for Europe yet, so I'm gonna guess 50 or 60 euros. Hopefully that's the case, because then I'll just import one from the UK, where the pound is not quite good at the moment, unfortunately, but it's really good if you just want to buy stuff internationally and not get basically ripped off, which Australians always do, but I'll stop stressing that point. Anyway, the release date will be November 11th, and Gizmodo even quoted November 10th for Australia, so I don't know which one's true. Actually, no, I do know which one. November 11th is listed on the Nintendo's official website, so just in time for Christmas. Stay tuned. A lot of Nintendo fun is yet to be had. So for our next story, we have the news of a homebrew release called Super Boss Gaiden. Now, Super Boss Gaiden is quite a special homebrew release, because it's actually been released for the SNES CD, which some of you may remember is a prototype between a failed venture between Nintendo and Sony that was found in someone's garage last year. I won't go too far into the story on the SNES CD. You can look up many news stories on that if you're interested. But basically, Nintendo and Sony were going to work together, and that all fell through, and that basically planted the seeds for the Sony PlayStation. But anyway, since the prototype has been found, no games were obviously ever developed for it, because it never went past prototype stage. But a couple of guys from Germany have actually released this homebrew game, and it's quite an interesting concept actually. It's just funny. Basically, the CEO of Sony has found out that the last remaining prototype of the SNES CD has made it into the public, and some guys somewhere have made a game for it, like in real life. And basically, instead of just suing the pants off these German guys, he goes on a rampage throughout the Sony HQ. It's very much like Ninja Gaiden, as in the title, Super Boss Gaiden, and basically there's a whole lot of not Nintendo favorites, of course not, because Nintendo were the bad guys in the story. There is a lot of Sony favorites that the CEO of Sony will fight his way through, because he's just on a rampage, I guess. But Parappa the Rapper's there, and I looked up some footage, and basically I got very sad at the fact that he was beating down on poor Parappa. Why would you do that to him? Anyway, this is quite the interesting story nonetheless, because the whole game is absolutely just making fun of itself, and basically the whole situation, really. Anyway, if you want to play this game, it actually is a free download, and you don't need a SNES CD to play it, which is good, because as far as anyone knows, there's only one prototype out there in some dude's garage. Anyway, it can be downloaded for free off their website. I'll link it in the description, and basically it's just a ROM that can be used on any Super Nintendo emulator. It's also apparently compatible with SNES flash carts, which I weren't aware of a thing that existed, so you can actually play it through your Super Nintendo. Because they did a bit of research into it, and apparently the SNES CD's video capabilities weren't really beyond what the SNES was capable of. This is all alleged, by the way, but apparently it just had more memory, so you could have bigger games. But yeah, I think it's quite cool. Download it in the description if you want to play it. Just a quick side note before I talk about the next news story. I'm about to release a video on the Nintendo Satellaview, which was basically an add-on for the Super Famicom in Japan that allowed it to connect up to a satellite service so you could download games and play to beat high scores, all that sort of thing. It's a very cool idea, and I will explain it more in the video I'm about to release. But apparently a concept prototype cart for something that's very similar to the satellite view just released in the UK. And this was from a communications provider in the UK called BT, so of course the cartridge was called the BT Game Cart. Pretty self-explanatory, I guess. So we don't know too much about the BT Game Cart yet, as it's just been found, probably in someone's garage like the SNES CD. But basically it never went beyond the trialing stage, and it was trialed in 2,500 homes in 1996. Now it was very much like the Satellaview, that it connected to a set-top box, which then presumably connected to satellites, and you'll be able to access things like games, but also apparently on-demand video, kind of like Netflix, if what I read is correct. So, very interesting, very ahead of its time, but we don't know too much about it yet, so I'm hoping to follow the story, and I will let you know if I find out anything more about it. So that wraps up the hopeful reintroduction of retro news fortnightly. Hopefully it doesn't fall to the wayside like the original series did. I did have a bit of trouble today, you could probably see, with just talking to a camera without a script, but hopefully I didn't do too badly. I was thinking by the third episode of the original time that I did it that I was getting quite good at this, but obviously after 10 months it's kind of gone a bit, I was internally screaming the whole time, so hopefully it wasn't too crap. So yeah, this is the end of the video. If you look to my left, I'll link the last 2 retro news fortnightlies I've released. Just be aware that they are 10 months out of date, but you may find the news stories interesting anyway. And to my right, you will find just the 2 latest videos I've released on Retro Game On, which I think are reviews. So yeah, also subscribe if you wanna. You don't have to, but it would be nice if you did. And that wraps it up. Hopefully I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Hopefully I will stick to this. I'm gonna kick my own ass if I don't. So for my ass's sake, let's hope. Let's just hope. Goodbye.